What's going on, fight fans? This is Capital Combat. The name says it all. I'm Rob Jarrell, and I am doing the preview for the HBO uh, Boxing After Dark. Well, HBO Championship boxing card that features Terence Crawford versus Felix Diaz. Um, I'm also going to do a short preview on the PBC main event, which is David Benavidez versus Rogelio Porky Medina, and a smaller known fight, but it's still pretty important. That's Hassan Endon versus Ryota Murata for the vacant WBA regular middleweight title. We know what the WBA is, but it is what it is. But this is actually an intriguing matchup. So we're going to start with that one. So if you didn't know, Hassan Endon won the interim title, if I'm not mistaken, in I don't think it was a knockout of the year, but it was a knockout of the year candidate when he put hands on Alfonso Blanco with a one punch KO. Like, I honestly think it might have been one of the knockouts of the year, but he's the interim WBA champ. So he's going to take on the little known. Well, he's not little known, but he's the up and coming. He another one of those Olympians that has moved into contender status rather quickly. It's Ryota Murata out of Japan. He is 12-0, and I think he has either. I want to say he has either 10 knockouts or 11. So let me double check that because I don't want to be wrong. He has 9 KOs. Okay, so he was a gold medal Olympian from the 2012 Olympics, I believe. Yes, the 2012 Olympics at middleweight, and he's got a decent record right now. He beat Bruno Sandoval. He beat George Tachupin. I'm not even gonna jack that up. But those would be his 2 best wins to date, and those ended in KOs. And of course, he beat a Jesse Nicolo, but that was, again, it is what it is. But he's got his hands full, and I know he's being pushed pretty hard, but he's got his hand full with Hassan Endon, because that dude is got to be the most resilient fighter I've ever seen. His he lost his 2 biggest fights to David Lemieux and to Peter Quillen, where I think he got knocked down an equivalent of about 10 times between those 2 fights, and he finished the fights. Like, they could not take this dude out, and when he wasn't being knocked down, he was fighting back. So Murata, it remains to be seen whether he can overcome a guy who's tough, very experienced, because he is 35-2, but he's never been KO'd. He hits pretty hard, but if you look at his resume, he beat Curtis Stevens, Fulgencio Zuniga, who is a fairly tough, experienced guy. He beat Aventil Curcice, which is in hindsight a really good win because that guy is tough. He's just super short. And again, his 2 biggest fights, David Lemieux couldn't get him out there, and he actually outboxed Peter Quillen in the rounds that he wasn't knocked out in. So Murata is not a volume puncher from what I could tell, but he's a hard puncher. Sometimes I think he loads up. He really wants to land that right hand. What he doesn't really waste movement, but he doesn't just follow you around the ring. But he doesn't quite cut off the ring. He's got a pole-like jab, and he wants to follow it with the right hand. He wants the right hand, period. The good thing against Endom is that Endom is best when he is on his toes, moving, circling around, able to work that jab. But he has a habit, even when he fights back, that he drops his hands. He's been knocked down from right hands to left hooks quite a few times. So I don't know if he just knows is just that well conditioned or he has just that kind of chin. But Murata, who isn't really fast, is got a chance if he can either punch with Hassan Endam or counter him. If he can counter him with that right hand or set it up, like feint the jab, make Hassan Endam step into his wheelhouse and then he can step in and land that right hand. I think he'll get a few knockdowns. I could see Hassan Endam being knocked down in this fight, but he's got his hands full. If he really shows something, I think he'll be next to take on whoever will get the WBA title. We know that Gennady Golovkin has it. He's fighting Canelo next. He could vacate. We know there are other fighters at middleweight. He could even get another fight. He could even get a fight with Danny Jacobs at that point. We know Dave Lemieux will be there because he wants another crack at Gennady Golovkin. He wants to fight Canelo, and he's had some really good wins in the meantime. But really look at that for that fight because that could go either way. And I think if he can get multiple knockdowns, Murata will win that fight. But it's going to be close because I can't see him taking out someone who two other hard hitters cannot take out. And just moving on from there, we had the PBC match as well. That is going to feature, again, David Benavidez, who is undefeated, taking on Rogelio Medina, who is a good fighter. I think he's definitely a hard luck fighter because, give me 1 second, I want to look up his record because, again, I don't want to get this stuff wrong. And let me close a few things. But Rogelio Medina is 37-7. But there are several fights where he lost where a lot of people thought he should have won. One being against James DeGale, where he really pushed him. And that was 2 fights ago. Then there was another fight that he lost against, a lot of people thought that he could have won versus, I can't remember it. I think it was someone else, but that James DeGale fight really said a lot. And him being 6'1", 73-inch reach, he has 31 KOs, which means he's going to push David Benavidez. Benavidez has not seen anyone to this caliber of fighter. Benavidez is also about 6'2". It's not, again, he's quicker than he is fast. He's not afraid to fight on the inside, and when he gets on the inside, he can reel off quick combinations and very quick and sharp combinations. And he can shoot the jab from the outside, but he really wants to get in there and work. If you watch the fight with Dennis Duggan, being a smaller guy, even though Duggan was pushing him back, he would create space on the inside and really shoot an uppercut, which I think will help him in this fight with Medina, and then come back over with a hook and a right hand. But it really starts with that uppercut. But a guy like Medina is really going to push him. He also is likes to fight on the inside, but he likes to fight on the inside and push you back against the ropes. Benavidez has shown that he can fight off the ropes, but he's never fought someone with the type of relentlessness and experience that Medina has had. Again, his losses have been to James DeGale, Badu Jack, Jonathan Gonzalez, Marco Reyes, but some of these were like really close. The only one that wasn't close was against Badu Jack, where he was knocked out, and he lost to Gilberto Ramirez, and that was by knockout. And because he's seen Ramirez before, who was similar in stature to Benavidez, he might be able to take the experience he has, because that was like 7 years ago. Take that experience and really go in and really push Benavidez back. And Benavidez is good. I've seen him gradually improve from fight to fight. I mean, he's 17-0 with 16 knockouts. But his best win to date is probably the Medina fight. I'm sorry, not the Medina fight. It was probably the Douglas fight. He fought a guy named Francine Tetu who was undefeated. So he's fought other not as highly rated prospects, but this guy Medina is, it remains to be seen. I think he's really got to work that jab and try to catch Medina coming in and then be able to work. If he's not catching Medina coming in and counterpunching, or at least beating him to the punch, then I can't really see him weathering this fight. But I like Benavidez. I'm interested in seeing what he can do in this fight against a hard-nosed veteran in Porky Medina. So let's move on to the main event, the what we all want to see, and that's Terence Crawford versus Felix Diaz. Again, we got another gold medalist, Felix Diaz. He's older than Terence Crawford. I want to say he's 33, and Terence Crawford is 28 or 29. And he's really only had one significant loss, and that was, and a lot of people thought he won that fight versus Lamont Peterson, which there is an argument. Felix Diaz is slippery. He kind of has a wide stance to be as short as he is, kind of hunches over and wants to counterpunch, or he can shoot that jab from that low stance. And his biggest thing is his foot movement. He knows how to encroach on your space before you realize he's doing it. And being that he's fast and he can reel off, again, combinations to get you off of him when he's pushed against the ropes, in conjunction with his feet, which he does spin out, so he's not on the ropes a lot, or if you get him to the ropes, he's right back off. And he can really turn his opponent. He did that quite a few times against Sammy Vasquez and Lamont Peterson. The difference is both those guys being bigger than he was, Vasquez did not have the pressure that Lamont Peterson did. Lamont Peterson wants to get you in there and physically put you against the ropes and dig to the body. Sammy Vasquez really couldn't do that. He's unable to do that. But his best wins were Sammy Vasquez, Gabriel Bracero, and Adrian Granados. You could kind of throw Emmanuel Larte in there, but I wouldn't. So him being from that southpaw stance, I think he's going to give Terence Crawford problems. He'll probably be one of the more skilled fighters that Terence Crawford has fought since, at 140. And that's with, I would say his best win would have been Victor Postal and maybe Uriel Gamboa. He's used to fighting shorter guys, and Diaz is used to fighting taller guys. So it's whoever can impose that will. But I think he's going to take advantage of Crawford for the first 2 or 3 rounds. The thing about Crawford is his adjustments are amazing. He can switch hit. He may go southpaw to start out with just to see how it feels, but I can actually see him going orthodox and taking advantage of a right hand, especially working his way to the inside and pushing Felix Diaz back. And another thing about him, his focus is just crazy because he doesn't really blink. He doesn't get visibly shook. And I'm not talking about hurt, because we've seen him hurt against Gamboa. We've seen him hurt against, I believe, against Delorme. But what he does, he's never visibly shook. He maintains his focus throughout the fight and under any fire. So I see the same thing where he's taken away that mid-range and possibly even roughened up Felix Diaz on the outside. We've seen him fight in a bunch of different ways. He was able to remain on the outside versus Victor Postal. I don't think that'll be his plan, because I think he's going to try to oppose his length and his size, because Terence Crawford is not small, on Felix Diaz. And And I can actually see him punching with them and getting the best of those shots against Felix Diaz. And Felix Diaz can't crack, but I can see Terence Crawford just kind of each punch taking his toll, taking his toll, taking his toll more than Felix Diaz's would, and possibly even making him gun shy. Um, we know Terence Crawford can definitely catch you coming in. He caught Postal basically slipping. He walked right into it. I don't think Felix Diaz is going to have that, but it will be a 12-round fight. I can't see Felix Diaz. He's got a pretty good beard. Because he has good foot movement, I don't think he's going to be one to stay in trouble when he gets in trouble. And Terence Crawford, again, really good chin, makes great adjustments. So I think it's going to be a very interesting fight because, again, I think Felix Diaz might be one of the more skilled fighters, probably over Victor Postal, if not on the same level, just maybe not the same experience. Let me take that back, not experience, the same competition level um, as a pro. Um, but tell me what you think. I'm taking Terence Crawford. I'm going to. I want to take Murata in a close fight just because he's going to be able to get knockdowns, but that one's 50-50. Um, he's decorated, he hits hard, he's bigger than Hassan Ndam, but I might I might go ahead and take Murata in that fight. And David Benavidez, because of how Gilberto Ramirez was able to take out Medina, I want to take Benavidez in this fight. I think it's going to be close because I think he's going to be forced to fight on the inside, and it's going to be a completely entertaining firefight. Even though he has length, he has a jab, I don't think he's going to be able to use it in this fight as well as he wants to against a guy like Medina. And just to also let you know, also on the schedule, Shakur Stevenson is making his return, his second fight since his debut, I think a month ago on the Terence Crawford undercard. It's going to be a fun fight between Raimundo Beltran and Jonathan Maciello. And check out Konstantin Panamarev if they do show that versus Edward Paredes. He's a good guy to watch out for at welterweight. I think he's going to be challenging for a belt soon as well. And I don't think I have anything else for you. Also, again, Hakeem did the video, the preview to the Showtime cards with Gervonta Davis versus Liam Walsh and Andre Devrel versus Jose Uzcategui and Oscar Esiadon versus Gary Russell for defending Gary Russell's title. That's actually in the MGM in DC if you are able to make it. Tell us what you think. Comments in the put your comments down below. Hit us up, gmail.com, capitalcombat@gmail.com, Capital Combat at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google Plus. Hit that subscribe button, share with your friends, and if you already subscribed to us, hit that bell icon so you know when we get any new updates from Capital Combat when we do our videos. And until next time, fight on.
And you've already lost. They don't seem to see that everything we've done is coming.